You're listening to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, where we discuss whatever the fuck we want to. And yes, we can put sex and drugs and Jesus all in the same bed and still be all right at the end of the day. My name is Devanin, and I'll be interviewing guests from every corner of this world as we dig into topics that are too risque for the morning show, as we strive to help you understand what's really going on in your life. There is nothing off the table, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into this episode. Hello, all my beautiful souls and spirits out there. I'm so thankful to have you with me again another week. Welcome to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, baby. Now, today I'm talking with a woman by the name of Amanda Acker. She's a formerly incarcerated person turned hope dealer. She's also the host of a podcast called the Let Good Things In Show and an international speaker as well. Now, in this show, we're going to get deep into Amanda's story of her teen pregnancy and the emotion she had to go through giving up her kids for adoption. We're talking about rape, abusive relationships, the struggles of life after you've been incarcerated. And let me tell you, it's a total bitch. And we get spiritual. We talk about witchcraft and our spiritual gifts and dreams and things like that. I want you to take a close listen to this episode, and I want you to take something from it that you can use today. Amanda, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this interview, I feel like, for so fucking long, because you are the first person who has such a history that so closely mirrors my own. You know, in terms of being homeless and being incarcerated and things like that. And you coined yourself as a formerly incarcerated person turned hope dealer.
Yes, that's
Tell,
me.
tell us about yourself, girl.
Yeah, so first I just want to thank you so much for having me on the show. And, my story is like, where do I even begin? I grew up in a normal middle class suburban life. I was very close with my mom, but at age 15, my parents divorced and my whole world turned upside down. My mom left and craziness ensued, but my life after that was me chasing love and acceptance from someone on the outside, somebody who could make me feel accepted to the point where I was able to have friends and have a social life and do all the things that my shy self prior to that would never have even imagined doing. So it led me to try to find the cool kids, so to speak. And I wanted, and it's weird because at my young age and knowing that smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, drinking, like all of that probably wasn't a great choice, I was always wanted to know, like, what does that feel like? Like, why are people doing it? The curiosity, right, of it all. And I thought, well, I'm sad, so this is going to help me feel better. And I'm around people. And if I drink and I smoke, then I will be cool and accepted. And just all these, like, now looking back, it was really stupid. Like, I was being really fucking stupid. I was not, seeking help. I was seeking an escape from what I was experiencing. So that led me to just that. Smoking cigarettes was first. I remember I was 17 when I first smoked a cigarette. I'll never forget that moment. At my job that I had at the time, this guy that I was dating, he was totally against me smoking. He told me I was too innocent and that I shouldn't, but I did anyways. And, that catapulted me into more things. So drinking, smoking weed, which then, of course, the people I was surrounded with, I thought were awesome and great, but they were very toxic for me. No, I don't feel that they're innately bad people, but they were not the people that I should have been spending my time with. And going to college, I was introduced to pills, which became a quick favorite. Benzodiazepines, to be exact. Klonopin was everything to me for a while. It is the first thing I took that made me forget everything completely. It was the first time that I felt okay. I was no longer crying. I wasn't, cutting myself when I was high on Klonopin. I was doing whatever the fuck I wanted to with no cares in the world. But the first time I did it, I did so much of it. And this story is just, I can't believe this happened to me when I tell the story, but I did so much of it. And then we went and hung out with other friends and started doing Vicodin and all these different types of pills and mixing them. And I had no business doing any of that because I had never touched pills prior. So the next morning I wake up, smoked a joint with someone, and I overdosed. It was like instantaneous. It was like my body, I don't know, it must have been the reaction of the weed plus whatever I had swimming in my system from the pills. And I just collapsed. And if it wasn't for the guy who I was with, I can't guarantee that I would have survived. And, in that moment, I thought when I woke up in the hospital, not knowing where I was, and, I thought, oh, well, my dad, like, he'll see this and he'll care and he'll want me and he'll want to help me, but he didn't. So it was this constant, rejection from my parents that was driving me towards all this. So unfortunately, that was not the wake up call that I should have had in those moments, but I just kept using. I failed out of college. I became pregnant at age 19. I experienced sexual abuse around the same time and gave my daughter up for adoption. So now I'm this college dropout essentially who just gave a daughter up for adoption, and I'm only barely 20 years old. So the darkness got worse from there, and I got into another abusive relationship, a physical abusive and mental abusive relationship. And after leaving him, finally getting the courage to do that, I was in a domestic violence shelter. So essentially, I was homeless. I left with nothing. I did have a son at the time. He was a baby. He's like 6 months old. He doesn't remember any of this, thank God. But, we go to the shelter, and instead of embracing it and getting the help I needed to have a positive, healthy life, I just wanted out. I was like, I don't want to be here. I felt very like I couldn't just go out and do what I wanted without like telling people where I was. Like it was just, I didn't like it. I was still very young and I wanted to be free. So I went back to an ex of mine and eventually realized that I didn't love him anymore. So I made the choice to leave him and got my own place. But I was so lonely. That need for acceptance and being around people just wouldn't go away. And so I ended up moving in with my best friend, and that's when the cocaine use started and what led me to my incarceration. So I met a man at a strip club, and a much older man, and he told me he had a job for me. And I was like, cool, like I need money, I need to pay my rent and get my cocaine. At the time, those were my priorities. And but that's not what it was. He ended up sexually assaulting me, and my friend and I stupidly after that went back, but we went together, and this guy was ultimately paying me for sex, but I would not have sex with him. So he wasn't giving us the money that he told us he would. So long story short, my friend and I and a few other people decided that we were going to rob him and get all of his money and whatever. So I remember that day because I remember feeling like I didn't want to do this. I knew it was wrong. Even though he'd hurt me, even though like he was a shit person, honestly, a shit person, I still knew deep down that it was wrong, but I didn't want to lose my friend. I could not handle the thought of not having her in my life because she was all I had. She was with me since my parents divorced. She was the one who got me through a lot of that. Maybe not in the way that I should have been getting through it, but at the same time, she was my solid. So we go out there, and I remember looking at her and saying, "We're going to jail tonight. I don't want to do this." And she was like, "Fuck it. I'll just drive." And here we go. Amanda pulls off the highway. I get out of my car, but I don't run. I don't say, just whatever and not get involved in it. I get back in the car and we continue to drive. And long story short, I couldn't go through with it. I remember sitting in this guy's apartment just sweating bullets. I mean, it was so obvious that something was up. I couldn't hide it. And the guy asked me, he goes, "What's wrong with you, Amanda?" He goes, "Something's wrong with you." And I was like, "Nothing, I'm fine." And this was in the early 2000s, so we only had 2 cell phones between all of us. So my friend was sitting there texting with the guys, and I snatched her phone, and I was like, "I'm gonna go call and check on my son." So I run out, and go to my car. I'm laying in the back seat of my car, still sweating, crying, all the things. And everyone comes out and like they're ambushing me, like, what the fuck are you doing in the back seat of the car? Like, we need to drive. Well, we didn't make it out of that parking lot. Like, for real. Like, the cops were there. Like, it was within like 30 seconds of them being in my car to where we are now getting pulled over. I was arrested at gunpoint, which was horrifying, horrifying on one of the busiest streets where people on the other side were like looking down, like there was like a restaurant across the street. So they're looking down, watching this all happen. And I'm arrested, face down on the pavement. It was horrific. It was the number one most, probably most, one of the number one most traumatic events I've ever experienced in my life. It's like I said, prior to that, Amanda didn't get in trouble. Even though I was doing things I probably should have been in trouble for, I never got caught up until that point. And, I made this other mistake where, my friends telling me don't tell the cops anything, which looking back, maybe I shouldn't have, but they kept telling me that I was going to get released and that I wouldn't see jail if I told them what happened. So I tell them. Told them everything. And I even wrote it down on paper thinking, well, I'm going to get out so I can just like leave and go hide somewhere, That was my thought process. And I didn't get released. I had a $10,000 straight bond. I was charged with robbery, criminal conspiracy, and prostitution. And now I'm in jail with my friend who now knows that I narked. I told the whole truth, didn't hold anything back. And I watch everyone else get bailed out but me. So I'm now in holding by myself, going up to main population in county jail, and I'm scared half to death. Like, I didn't know what to expect. It wasn't as bad as I thought, not to say it was great, but it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I was in there for a week before I got bailed out. And I had this whole year of my life where if you've experienced incarceration, like, you don't know what the hell is going to happen to you. Like a whole year where you literally I had no clue. Like, am I going to jail? Am I going to prison? Am I like, no idea. So I just stayed in that cycle, using, drinking. I started stripping. I was, dating men from the strip club. I was getting in very bad scenarios with men, women, everything. And then I got sentenced to 8 months of incarceration in county jail with option for work release. I only got convicted of the conspiracy, but I did watch my best friend, which me and her weren't really friends anymore at this point, but in my heart, she was still my best friend. I watched her and all the guys that were involved get carted off to state prison for 5 years. That was really hard. I felt horrible, like it was all my fault. And then when I had to go back to turn myself in to go to jail, for work release, you have to pee and you have to be clean in order to go into the work release program. I was pregnant, by the way, and I couldn't pee. Could not pee. Like, what pregnant woman on this planet can't pee on demand, right? And I just couldn't. And so I had to go to main population for at least 30 days. I did eventually get into the work release program, which was better than being in county, but still incarceration. Still had, I wasn't allowed to just freely go and do what I wanted. And then after that, it just kept spiraling. I get out of jail and I don't clean up my act. I keep doing the same things. I keep ending up in toxic, abusive relationships. And 3 years ago is when I had my breaking point, and I was going to kill myself because I had lost a job that I thought was great. I was betrayed by someone who I thought was my best friend, and I couldn't do it anymore. I just gave up. But in that moment, I had, maybe it's a spiritual awakening. I don't know. But in that same moment of crying and wanting to end my life, I decided that I couldn't. I had to keep living. I had a husband. I had kids, even the kids who I gave up for adoption, like they're still my children and I need to live for them. I need to show them that it's possible. And so I didn't end my life. I reached out for help from my husband, and slowly but surely, here I am today, just telling my story and, learning to love and accept myself every single day and realizing that I take ownership for the things that have happened to me over my life. And I made those choices that made those situations occur, and learning to forgive myself. That's a lot, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that is a lot, and we're gonna go and work our way back through it. Now, a part of you helping people is that you're the host of the Let Good Things In show.
Yes.
You're an international speaker, and you've done some writing as an author as well.
Yeah.
And so let me go back through some of this, 'cause I want to capture more detail in like your like live emotions when some of these things were happening. So when your parents got divorced,
Mhm.
like my parents almost got divorced when my dad had, I think, his second affair or whatever the case may be. I wish they would have gotten divorced, but tell me, what did you feel? You know, how did it feel when your parents got divorced? Because you talk about it as though it was super traumatic. Bring me into what was going on in your head and in your.
Yeah. I mean, I was angry because I didn't understand. Like, I knew prior that they may be getting divorced, but I always thought in my mind that my mother would stay with me. So I was angry, I was sad, I was confused. I felt like my heart was broken into a million pieces. Like everything I knew had just shattered within a blink of an eye. You know, you wake up in the morning to go to high school as a freshman, thinking your life's normal, and then you come home and kaboom, it's just not. I remember like my dad sitting on the couch and he looked like he had been crying. And my dad's not an emotional person. So I knew that this was major. This was not something that we were just going to brush under the rug and move on from. But also, my anger, I just remember being angry. Like, I didn't understand, like, where's my mom? And nobody could tell me, nobody until I discovered where my mom was. I mean, she did go to my grandmother's house, but she was in another relationship. And, it was extremely hard. Like I can't even like put it all into words. It hurt like hell in all directions.
Fair enough. I can understand where you're coming from with the unexpected things happening when you're a kid. When we had a house that my parents had got when I was in grade school, like middle high school, they lost it because they were bad with money and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so the way I found out about the house, one day they just show up to this plot of land with a frame on it. And they're like, well, this is the house that we're building, for us. They had bought it. The right way to do it is to take the kids through the whole home buying process so they know from beginning to end. Just drive them to the house being built already. So
Right.
while it's a good thing, it's still a shocking thing. Then when they lost the house, I came home from school one day and all the shit was packed up, and they're like, "Well, we lost the house. You just hop in the car and just go on to the next one." And so
Oh my goodness.
it was a huge
Wow.
downgrade. So we were from the hood to the we were like the Jeffersons. We moved on up to the east side, then we had to go back, to the hood,
Oh man.
in an instant. So I understand where you're coming from with the shock value there.
Yeah.
And I heard you say that you were chasing love and acceptance when you got caught up with this crowd. It reminded me of how when I was in the military, I was tender and young at the age of 17 when I went to the Air Force.
Wow.
And then that's when I became a slut. I was a total cum whore. And so I was having sex with all these different men and just totally just running gay.com into the ground. There was no grind
Wow.
there. Yeah, you had to be determined to be a whore in my day. You had to wait for the dial up to come up on the computer,
Right?
AOL or whoever you were going through, the
Yeah.
e and then you had to negotiate the transaction, print out the directions from MapQuest because there were no secret phones. So you had to have a printer. You had to have all these things if you were going to be a slut.
That's so true.
And every time, and the whole while I was going through all of this, I was having sex with 2, 3 different guys a night at times. And I
Oh
knew
wow.
that what I wanted was that masculine attention from them that I never got from my dad. But
Mhm.
I really, really love being embraced by like a big, strong man. Well, he wasn't gonna do this shit for free. He had to get something in return. And that was a piece of this sweet ass. And
Mm,
so, and so I get chasing love and acceptance, and we all do it.
yeah.
We have a certain sense of tribalism that's ingrained into us, or as one writer said, no man's an island. We're going to find community because that's how God designed us. Now, this doesn't mean losing your identity within the crowd, but we need to relate with people.
Yeah.
Coronavirus comes to town, people can't relate with people and people lose their shit. People who have
Mhm.
never been in jail like you and I have, we understand what it means to not be able to come and go as you please.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to have privileges taken away.
Mhm.
So a pandemic and being able to be in our houses and still kind of go to work and do some shit is like great. These people lost their damn minds because they couldn't go out to eat at restaurants, couldn't travel and take their vacations because of the need we have to socialize with people. And sometimes we negotiate, even though they're not the best people. Sometimes we think that's the best we can find, and rather than being fucking alone, we'll take the problem people or the people who we probably have a bad feeling about because to us that's worse. That's better than being by ourselves.
Exactly.
You see, and so so the prayer is that when people are going through this sort of phase, that the Lord will give them better friends, and that's what I needed because it took me a long time to get to a point where I wasn't trying to hang out with people who were also, or who had been homeless or who were into drugs and stuff like that. I had to get used to hanging out with people who were not problematic by, by vice, by the things
Yeah.
they like to get into. You said you were abused sexually. Give me detail. What happened? Like, were you raped? Like,
Well, there's, with the guy that I was living with, I wouldn't call it rape necessarily because we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but he would do a lot of forcefully, like, he would, like, hold me down and, like, have, like, sex with me, like, it was painful, and I would ask him to stop, and he wouldn't. Just very forceful sexually. So maybe that is rape, but it's not like, we were already in a relationship, so I don't know if I could call it that,
yeah,
but
yeah, that's rape.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it was bad. And then, it made me think that because when I moved in with this guy, so to give it some context, like, that's right after I failed out of college, and my father was selling the house that I grew up in, and he was living with his then girlfriend, and so I'm still living in the house, and I'm waking up to strangers, like, showing my house, and I had no idea that they were gonna be there. So I had to get out of there, and I had no money. I don't even think I probably was working as a cashier somewhere, but I had nowhere to go, so I moved in with him because I figured, well, at least this is better than being on the street, I can move in with him, and I thought I loved him, at that young age that I was, but as soon as I moved in with him, like, things got weird. The forceful sex started. I started noticing, like, just weird, like, witchcraft type stuff. Just things that, like, gave me the heebie-jeebies without for lack of a better explanation. And I did later find out that his father had molested his sister, and his sister had therefore molested him. So I think there was a lot of sexual confusion for him that he probably had never dealt with. Not that it makes it okay what he did to me or what he's done to other women, but I think it stems from that, and which is part of the reason why I gave our daughter up for adoption. But beyond that, I was raped by the gentleman who we robbed, not sex, but oral. He told me that if I did not do what he demanded, that he was going to fucking kill me, so I kinda just did what he said, which was awful. I remember, like, leaving that scenario and brushing my teeth like I had never brushed my teeth before. I just felt so violated and disgusting for doing that and then having money get handed to me, right? Like, it felt very dirty, all in all. You know, throughout my life, yes, I've been raped on multiple occasions, but I think the ones that I can actually remember are those 2 because those were I mean, I was sober when my ex was, forcefully having sex with me. I was sober when I was assaulted by that older man, much older. And I don't know, the feeling afterwards, like it's hard for me to remember fully like with my ex, but I can say with the older man, was that just why did that happen? Like, was I raped? Like, I always questioned it, like I just did, like I always like, well, was that rape? It's like I was there, I was or I was with this person, so it's not rape. And I would just like shove it away. Like I wouldn't describe it that way to anybody until after the fact of realizing what had actually happened. So,
But maybe my favorite line from the movie Set It Off, which had Queen
mm,
Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, Jada Pinkett Smith, and that girl who was like in some of the Tyler Perry movies and shit. The when that hard-headed white cop was trying to get his boss, the black cop, to do some stupid shit, the black cop looks at him and goes, "What part of no do you not understand, Stowe? The N or the O?" That's my favorite line from that movie. And so, no, honey, rape, like that's so rapey. We don't like to get rapey. When somebody says no, this is just flat out it. And unless it's an explicit yes, even silence is no. So if a
yeah,
man's trying to fuck and you say anything short of yes, it's absolutely okay, then he is not too advanced. Plain and damn
yeah,
simple. Plain and damn.
yeah,
So
that's true.
tell me about this witchcraft. You mentioned the W word, and I like to talk about witchcraft because I've been a victim of witchcraft before. Tell me what you saw.
Oh, wow. There were like so like I don't know if they were tarot cards or what they were, but like just like weird shit like that, just like laying around. He had like all these like weird figurines. I never actually saw him like do anything with it. I think he hid that side of him from me pretty well until I started unearthing some of the things. But with witchcraft, another weird story that I experienced still very young, I was probably 20 at this point. I was working at a grocery store, in the bakery, and my boss, like the lead baker or whatever the fuck he was called, asked me if I was into witchcraft. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't know. Like, you tell me. What's that? You know? And luckily, I did not go with him, but he was going to take me to this like house with all these women who like practiced witchcraft. And my friend and I were gonna go, but I don't remember what transpired that we didn't end up going, which I'm grateful for, because that kind of stuff, like, it scares me to the point where, like, I won't go there. Like, if I see it, I'm out. Like, I don't it really scares me because what if it's real? That's always been, like, my fear. Like, what if this is real? Like, what if, like, they put a spell on me, or what if I get murdered, or because you hear these stories, these horrifying stories of, these witchcraft type scenarios. So, no, there wasn't anything crazy explicit to disclose other than, like, just strange things that I was finding laying around the apartment.
But see, that's the way witchcraft goes. It can be little stuff like that that causes us to raise an eyebrow.
Mhm.
People don't do things for no reason. If he's got the tarot looking cards and the strange figurines, I think I know what you're talking about. He didn't go and get all that shit just to sit around and collect dust. You know, there,
Right.
there is a practice happening. And you see, God has had his hands on you and he's been guiding you away from these things. I can see that clearly. You've been kissed with mercy, woman.
Mm,
And
I
so,
know.
and so, and so you're very, very special to him. And so you say witchcraft could be real. Yes, it is real. So the way it happened to me, I was the object of this guy's desire. I was about 15. He was about like 22. I
Oh,
was the altar boy at my church. He was the worship leader. And so what he was doing with me, he decided he wanted to have me all to himself. So it became like kind of an obsession for him. Now he already had me because I hadn't had any experience with the man before. So I'm all enthralled with him. And so anything
right.
he would have told me to do, I would have done it. He didn't have to resort to witchery. But boys will be boys, sometimes in their aggressive ways. And so he was also very just kind of evil at heart. It was years later that I found out that he also had full blown AIDS, that he was running around trying to intentionally infect as many people as he could in order to kill them.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I barely missed that, getting infected by him by a hair. And so it started with, he got a hold of a windbreaker that he asked to borrow from me, and he would never give it back. And I later learned that he was using my personal possession to feel close to me, and knowing what I know now, probably using it to strengthen his spells. I had gone over to his house only once with someone else, because that person wanted to drop something off to him. And when he opened his door, I could see like an altar type thing with candles and stuff going and stuff like that. And so we started having conversations, and we were like kind of like dating as much best as I could, me being in high school and him being
Right.
like
Yeah.
a grown ass man. And so, and so I started having dreams about him every night.
Hmm.
His son, he wore a very distinct cologne, and it may have been partially that, and the disease that I was smelling in him. There are those of us who can, I don't know if everybody can, but I can like smell certain things in the spirit. Like I can smell when a foul spirit is around me. It's a very rank odor. There's a way you could smell sickness. My pastor, she could smell like new life in the room, and could tell if a woman was pregnant and stuff like that. So
Oh, wow.
there's a way to smell in the spirit. So I would smell his scent. I could be anywhere, at school, at church, just his odor. When people die, when people have died, some people will testify that they'll smell, like, say, that fragrance their grandmother used to wear
Yeah.
come around them. So fragrance is something that is unseen. Spirits are unseen, and there's some enmeshment there. So he would send his spirit around me, and during the day, and then when I was asleep every night, I would dream about him every night, period, all the
Wow.
time. This is not like a random thing. This is something that's being done intentionally. And so I later learned through my pastor, who was a prophetess, who looked through the spirit to tell me what was going on, when he and I had like a big rift, when I wouldn't sleep with him, when he wanted me to sleep with him. She was telling me he was burning candles, and I think he was using what's called an intranquil candle. And if you read the back of that candle, this candle, when the practitioner uses it, searches for a wandering spirit that's able to cross in between our world and their world. And then they evoke the employment of this spirit to go and torture the person who is the object of their affection, and to take
Holy
peace,
shit.
right, and to take peace from that person until that person comes and bees with them. It's a very twisted thing to do for someone you claim to care for. But the only time that I would ever be happy is when I was around him. Other than that, I was fucking miserable. And my dreams about him weren't good. I would feel shit come into my room and like shake the bed. They were like dark, black, mysterious fucking nightmares. It took 6 months from the time that my pastor and I started working on breaking this spell off of me for it to be broken. And then one,
Oh.
and then one Sunday, y'all, she looks like she ain't never heard no shit like that before. And it took 6 months. And then one Sunday morning, I was sitting at the kitchen table doing like math or some shit, because my parents were rarely going to church during these days. And I felt it lift up off of me, so much so that I put my pencil down. I kind of like gas, and I had to just like go take a walk. I just like all these pounds that just got lifted off me. And I just walked, and I met my grandmother, who was waiting down at the end of the driveway. And from that day forth, I never smelled his scent again. And I never had a fucking dream about him again.
Wow.
I think, I think after he died, I think he might have been dead. I think he may have tried to come back around me again, but I swatted him away, and I wouldn't let it happen, because I had learned better then. Because see, he died like about 2 years later of those AIDS that he was running around trying to give everybody.
Mm.
He went from looking like he had just no body fat, six pack, chiseled, damn gorgeous model looking man, shriveled up on a cane. I heard he had some kind of cancer with just these pustules all over his fucking body.
Ugh.
the fiance that he didn't tell me that he had when I was dating him, who had moved from
My
California,
God.
who had moved to California to be with him here, was the one helping him. So we buried his ass when he was around 24 years old. But baby, witchcraft is real. And I speak about it because, like that guy who wanted to take you to, I'm thinking that that was a coven, that he was like a coven of witches, like a group of witches that he wanted to take you to, either to sacrifice your ass or to get you to join them,
Yeah.
one or the other. And people practice it, and it's not like you might think. Okay, so people like down here near in New Orleans, like where I live, and shit like nearby where I live, you can go into these voodoo shops and these spiritual shops and get all of these things: candles, black powder, things to break up people's relationships, things to kill
What?
people, things to close people's businesses down. You also can get things to shield yourself and protect yourself, things to help enhance your luck and success. Magic is used to either draw something to you, to dispel something from you, to build up, or to tear down. And just as sure as you're looking shocked as shit at me right now, honey, this is the truth. And people practice all kinds of witchery and magic everywhere because these stores can ship this shit worldwide. So you don't
Yeah.
need to be looking for somebody running around in a black cloak and a witch's hat. It could just be some bitch wearing a shirt from Walmart with skinny jeans. This is what the girl had on the day when I was in one of these spiritual shops getting some shit to protect myself. Because now that I've been through witchcraft, I keep myself guarded 24
Right.
8, 24/8. And and if anybody needs protection against witchcraft until you learn deeper things, you can just keep you a white candle burning, and you can bathe yourself with white soap and just, or maybe like olive oil soap, and just keep it simple to start with. Then you could reach out to me if you need any further help than that, and I'll see what I can do. But I was just having a casual conversation with this girl, asking her what she does like for work. And I don't ask people what they do for work anymore because it's really a bullshit question. We usually don't give a fuck. But she was
Right.
thinking, I was talking about her spiritual work, because that's what it's called. Like, so if you're trying to kill somebody, or you want to break up their relationship, or you want to run them out of business, or make them leave the job, or make them move out of their house, you'll say, I'm working on that person, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
And so, but that's not what I meant when I asked her that. But I'm not thinking the place that I'm standing in. And she
Yeah.
answered me. She answered me. She was like, "Oh, just general breakup spells, like the breakup couples and that sort of thing. How are you?" So she said it.
Oh my God. What?
She said it as casually as the sky's blue, bitch. Because, but in the Bible, it tells us, in the Hebrew Bible, I always like to give credit to the land where the Bible actually comes from. The Hebrew Bible tells us that there are people who cannot find rest and peace every day until they have found somebody to destroy. There are people who make it their
Holy
business to
shit.
cause problems in people's lives. So sometimes when you're in a relationship and suddenly confusion starts coming out of nowhere, you start seeing this weird shit like how you did. Let's pay closer attention. It's not because we're crazy. Sometimes there might be dark forces at play, so you better get close to God. You better get the Holy Ghost. You better learn about spiritual protection and stuff like that, and get some head knowledge, baby, because all of these things affect us in this life. And so burying our head in the sand and try to act like it's not there is not gonna help you. Own it, learn it.
Yeah. That's a crazy story, but I believe that, I am I can't smell things, but I have, like, this innate sense. So, like, it's like I can tell when something's bad, or yeah, I can literally, like, I was just telling my husband this the other day, because I'm prescribed medical marijuana, so I had been using it for, my anxiety and PTSD for a while now, but I decided just about a month ago, I was like, "You know what? Like, I'm using it too much. This is becoming a problem." So I only take a pill so I can sleep at night. I don't smoke throughout the day anymore. And but ever since I gave that up, it's like it's more intense. It's like I'm sensing things more. Like, I was thinking the other day, I had like a Zoom call with someone. I was like, "Oh, I'm really not feeling it. Like, maybe they'll cancel." They canceled. And there's another instance where, like, I was thinking about something, and I was thinking about my mother-in-law. I was like, "Oh." it'd be cool if I saw her and there she was. Like, she didn't see me. She was driving past in someone else's car, but there she was. I'm like, what is that? Like, why? Because I've always had like, the people will tell me that I have some sort of like intuitive abilities or whatever, but I don't I don't know, it just seems kind of weird to me. But when things like that start happening, and I look back over my life, like, I've always ignored myself. So it was like I always ignored that side of me because I always thought I had to just do what everyone else was doing. I had to keep everyone else happy. So I kind of like forgotten about that part of me. So when it started happening again recently, it's cool, but it's also scary. It's like I don't want this ability. Like somebody else can have this. Like it freaks me out. Like I don't think I should be able to just make things happen like that. I don't know. It's weird. So
Well, the gifts that we have are not ours to decide,
yeah.
so instead of denying any part of yourself, I encourage you to embrace it. And now, because you might be getting it conflated and confused in your head the way psychics and stuff like that are done in media, and on television and in movies and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Because other than that, there's no reason for you to feel, and this could be a subconscious thing. There's no reason, like if you know nothing about clairvoyance, why would you hate it or why would you want to push it off? You must have some sort of negative association to it somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're not making those things happen. You're just becoming aware of what's about to happen before it happens. Now, the thing about clairvoyance, and you do have that in you, I can see that clearly. The thing about it is God is in control of everything. So when I meet somebody and they're claiming to be an empath or clairvoyant and blah, 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 first thing I want to know from them, okay, where are you drawing this power from? Are you getting it from the devil? Are you claiming your dead ancestors are telling you? Are you claiming it's God or who? Who are you talking to? Where are you getting these messages from? That's what I want to know. So for me, it's Jesus, it's God. Now, do dead people come back and tell us shit? Hell yes. They just do. And so God already knows, as it is said, he's the first and the last, the beginning and the ending. So he already knows what's going to happen. So I get that too. Down here in the South, they'll say, you can talk somebody up. If you start talking about that cousin, then here the bitch come, and stuff like that. So did you make it happen? Or perhaps that you receive a message on the inside and you knew they were coming and it manifested as though you were speaking their voice. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah.
So, or did you speak to it? In that particular case, I believe that is what happens. What you have experienced, I've had that happen too, in many different ways. But it could be that you're growing in your gift as you get older. Sometimes it happens like a gradual thing. Some people get hit with, the bulk of their gift all at once, but some of us, it's a more gradual thing. And I
Yeah.
noticed that you said that once you laid the weed down, you started to become more aware of this. Okay, it's not going to stop. So I would encourage you to just get educated about that which you fear, because fear is never going to serve us. I
Right.
mean, own that power. Bitch, if you have the foreknowledge of things before they come, you can help people more. You know, you can help people a lot more. And this is a part of who you are. We're still learning and evolving. This is appearing to you. Don't run. Don't do like Jonah in the Bible and run. You know, turn around and embrace and start slow. Just be like, God, what is this? Help me to understand this better. And then see what he says. Leave it alone. You
Yeah.
know, I don't do drugs. I don't allow myself medical weed or anything like that either. And a part of it is for the very reason that you just said, because of the way my gifts work with me, my clairvoyance and stuff like that. I dream a lot, although I also have things that work with me during the day, like what we're talking about right now. It's come to a point that the messages and the things like that that I get can be so finite and so like sharp that I can't have anything in my system that's throwing off my balance or my equilibrium at all. And
Mm.
so I don't think there's anything wrong with drugs. I'm just saying, for me, now I still have my wine. I don't get drunk anymore or anything like that, but wine has never affected me like that.
Yeah.
My pastor, the high prophetess, she was gifted in all things and a highly clairvoyant woman, and she didn't do no drugs or drink. She was like, she would always say, I can't, I got too, y'all had too many problems. But she would always be counseling and, prophesying and telling us what's going to happen next and what herbs we need to heal ourselves and stuff like that. She was like, I can't be drunk. Shit. Well, she didn't cuss. At least not around me. She was like, I can't, so she had to keep her head clear. So it could be that this whole desire to put the weed down came upon you because your gift is trying to come out. So
That could be true because speaking of dreams, oh man, I literally especially when I put it down, like my nightmares, I have nightmares. I don't have like these beautiful dreams, but like intense, like so vivid. It's like I can't handle it. Like I'll wake up sweating, crying, screaming, or like I can't let it go. Like I'll think about it all day. Like, what did that mean? What did that mean? Like, why did I dream that? About spiders and being chased and, people trying to murder me and my family, just crazy. And when I research all of it, like I try to figure out what the symbols mean, but at the same time, I don't know. I think every symbol I've ever looked up means the same thing. So I'm like, I don't know if this is accurate. So, but yeah, I mean, I dream like crazy. Now, if I smoke, I won't dream. It won't happen. I don't have. So I think that could be true. But I also can't sleep if I'm having nightmares all night long. So it's also a problem.
what
But
what what is the recurring symbol?
I have 2, so it's either spiders or I'm being chased. I have been being chased in my dreams since I was a child. So, it's just those are the common 2 themes.
Okay. Okay. So was when I got done being homeless and being a drug dealer and being on and off the street and in and out of jail, what happened with my dreams during that whole time that between the time I got kicked out of the church to the time after I was out of jail for the last time, I didn't really dream at all. My dreams stopped,
Mm.
which is not a good position for me to be in since I'm a dreamer and that's how God speaks to me. They started again after I got, was starting to transition from the homelessness and the prison, the jail stuff and stuff like that. They didn't necessarily return to being prophetic just that quickly, though. I started having a bunch of dreams of being chased too for a really,
Mm.
really, really long time. And my pastor was telling me that I was reliving everything that I had gone through. You see, so when the trauma goes into us, it has to come back out. It has to be dealt with in some type of way. And so if you're still having chasing dreams after all this time, it, then the only reasonable thing that I could come up with is that it's still tied to some sort of issue that is yet unresolved. You
That
see,
could be true.
and so because what are we running from? What are we running from? And it was just exhausting, like you said. I would wake up perpendicular in my bed sideways.
Mhm.
It was like going through it all over again. It was just that real.
Yep.
See, and spiders, in the dream world usually have to do with enemies and entanglement, things like that. Unless we're talking about a beautifully done spider's web, then that has to do with hard work paying off.
Oh, yeah.
So then, of course, we also have to pay attention to the mood of the dream. So I'm a big fan of hypnotherapy because I went to school for that and I got certified
Oh,
in
wow.
that. And I'm seeing a hypnotherapist now to be sure that I don't go back to drugs because some associations get caught up in our subconscious and things like that. So I'm using hypnotherapy so that we can reframe and replace the positive associations I had with the criminal underworld. Not saying they were bad or wrong, just saying this used to be good and served me and no longer serves me now. So what can we upgrade to?
Yeah.
You know? And so I recommend and hypnotherapy has been the most effective form of therapy in which I have tried. I've been in front of so many fucking therapists,
Same.
over the last few years. Hypnotherapy works the best for me, so everybody's got to find what works for them, but it gets to the point because so many times when we sit down in front of regular therapists, we're dealing on the conscious level because a regular therapist can only help you with what you tell them. And any
Right.
of them will tell you that if you lie to them, then they're going to play off of those lies, and they're going to tell you you're hurting yourself in the therapy if you don't tell the truth. But when you sit down with a hypnotherapist, you can't lie. Like the sort of questions that they ask, that we ask, and things like that are not typical. If we really get to the why behind the why behind the why, because when you're put into hypnosis, we're going to tell you what you want us to tell your subconscious. We're going to access your subconscious and tell it to you, and you're not going to want to tell yourself some bullshit. And then we can tell that we're being lied to. And so, like, for instance, in my last hypnotherapy session, I was telling them how when I was a drug dealer, I loved the power I had over people. And that was a high in and of itself.
Yeah.
But I was telling her how we were doing the hypnotherapy just for the drugs. I have a tendency to be very critical of myself and to have anxiety and to be very judgmental of myself. And I said, somehow when we did a session about the drugs, I stopped being hard on myself. And then through the questioning, we were like, well, your dad was abusive. The military was abusive. You didn't have control in those situations. As a drug dealer, you had control,
Yep.
and that made you feel great. I had never tied those two together before. And all the therapists that I sat in front of for the last 10 fucking years had never made the connection until I talked to a hypnotherapist. But
Wow.
we fixed it without even trying to fix it. because we because we got into the subconscious and started dealing with things, and so much of our problems lie in our subconscious, and our subconscious is at least 80% of our brain. The conscious
Mhm.
is very little. So I'm just going to throw that out there to you and to everybody who may be wrestling with something and you've been wrestling with it a long time. Consider hypnotherapy, consult your doctors and everything like that, and do your own research. I went to the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. They're the first accredited hypnotherapy school in the country. And so
Wow.
that really, really means a lot. Think about it, pray about it, do what God tells you to do ultimately. But the shit has worked for me, and bitch, whom the sun sets free is free indeed. And I'm feeling fabulous.
That's great. I've thought about hypnotherapy, but it's also one of those things where it's like, that also scares me because you can tell fear is something that has stopped me my whole life. I think a lot of the things that happened to me over my life were based in fear. Yeah, that fear of abandonment, the fear of being by myself, like that fear kept me stuck. So now it's about embracing my fears, and I've embraced a lot of my fears over the past 3 years and have done tremendous, improvement in my life. And I was talking to someone earlier, about getting a pardon for my felony record, and that's also something I've toyed with, but fear keeps me stuck, right? And it's like, "Oh, what if they say no?" and blah, 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 blah. But I just have to fucking do it, and if I feel that hypnotherapy, if I'm curious about it, fucking do it. Like, what's it gonna hurt, to try? So
Right. Yeah, that fear will never do. That's why I left the anonymous movement, because but when anonymous movement, everybody, I mean like crystal meth anonymous, narcotics anonymous, alcoholics anonymous. But once I realized that the anonymous program is fear based, basically it is, because they go, hey, you're gonna do all your fucked up shit again and lose everything if you get high. That's fear. That's using fear as a motivator. But 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 the Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power and of love and a sound mind. So that is out of agreement with my spiritual beliefs. And so I don't fucks with the anonymous movement anymore. And what you can do though, like at the school I went to, like you can just pay to take like a single course and get like online and just to get
yeah,
like a taste for it. I did the whole program for like $3,000, so that's not necessary. You can just take like a course or two, and then you can watch the hypnotize people. You can see how it's done, because hypnotherapists often work in tandem with psychotherapists.
yeah,
And so you can see the process, you can see how it goes. So when you have fear, the thing for you to do, girl, is to get knowledge to overrule that fear. And that's how you can get the victory. So you're afraid of it, just learn about it. Because knowledge will clear up the fear, because fear is just a bunch of unknown what ifs.
yeah, exactly. If fear robs us of our lives, what we deserve, because I think, from my experiences and having a felony record, like I was so afraid of people finding out, like I hid it. I would have jobs, like good jobs, but they didn't know, right? Because I never asked. So now I'm going to work every single day going, this will be the day they find out. This will be the day I'm going to get fired. I'm going to lose everything. and that fear will eat you alive, and I couldn't move forward with my life. No matter how good the fucking job was, I would sabotage it because of my fears. And once I release that fear of people finding out and just telling people I have a good job, I get to work remotely. I have a boss who knows my story and still gave me a job. Because at the end of the day, we're all human and we all have a story, right? We all deserve to be heard. And I think a lot of times that fear keeps us from being heard and getting what we deserve. So,
What were some of the roadblocks you had to that you came across as being formerly incarcerated? Because you're saying you had fear about it. You were able to get work, but were you labeled? Or what were some of the problems that you had trying to stabilize your life?
yeah, a lot. I convinced myself that I was a low life piece of shit with a felony record. So I lived my life accordingly. But then there was the fear of, okay, well, if I go to apply for this job and it asks if, like, okay, so you're online and you're filling out application. It's like, have you ever been convicted? And it would be a job that like I really wanted and would pay exceptionally well, but I would just be like, up, exit application. Like, I can't have it. And I would keep telling myself, I can't have it. I can't do this. You know, I can't go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. I can't, I mean, well, for fuck's sake, I still can't carry a gun, so I can't protect myself. So if I can't protect myself and my life is meaningless, I, why try? And it kind of like solidified it in my head that I was less than human and I'm not really free. Everyone else is free, but I'm not. And it could make me cry right now because it still upsets me because it's still true. I don't feel like I'm a free human. Like if someone walks in right now and has a gun to my head, I can't legally I can't touch a gun. Like it's like my life is worth less than that person that just busted into my house to rob. So there are a lot of barriers, like, I can't volunteer at my kid's school because I have a felony. I can't no matter even though it's been 13 years since it happened, like, it still holds me back. So, more recently, I have worked through a lot of those fears and have still gone after things despite it, but I still tend to box myself in sometimes.
Well, you're damn sure on the right path. You're doing what you can, and we all heal in different times. So as long as you don't quit, you're going to be all right. But that's why you're still having the dreams that you have. Like from hearing the things that you just said, that's why you're still being chasing your dreams when you sleep every night. But it's not gonna last forever. I don't care how long it's been there. Everything is subject to change.
True.
And so, but I heard you use the word dehumanized, or you refer to be feeling like you're less than a human. Yeah, it's a bitch. When you have felonies, I couldn't volunteer at the museum and shit like that because I had felonies. I'm all like, what in the fuck are like, say you and I going to do to go, we're trying to work for free. And
Right.
you don't want us to come work for free because some shit we did 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. That's just like mean at its core. You know, you know, it pisses you off and it makes you not want to do shit.
Yep.
When that happens that way. But we can't do that. We got to get strong. We got to, keep trying. But it was very demotivating. I ended up starting out as a janitor after I got done being in jail because that's pretty much all I could find. And then that was at the Veterans Affairs Hospital through a special program for people with mental health issues. Not
Oh,
like I
geez.
applied. It's not like I was hired regularly. And then from there, I started delivering food and I made my way to the service industry. And then I had to go to school. Then I went back to school. I chose to go back to school to be a massage therapist. And I was went into business for myself because I got tired of pleading with people to please give me a chance because of some shit I did ages ago. And I'm all like, so I encourage entrepreneurship. A lot of most people, fuck trying to prove yourself to the man. Fuck him. And so
Right?
well, he's probably done worse shit than you have that didn't get caught for it.
Yep. Yeah, very true. Yeah, and, like, it is demotivating, like, when you think about it, you see like, for me at least, like, you see people making all kinds of money and, driving nice cars. And like my brain just automatically goes, I'll never have that because I made a mistake when I was in my early 20s. So I guess I'm not deserving. And those are the narratives that I would continuously tell myself until more recently. Now, yeah, I have those thoughts. I mean, I probably always will, but it's knowing how to go, wait, stop. That's not true. Where are the facts, And ever since I started doing my podcast and meeting other formerly incarcerated people and seeing what's possible, holy shit, like, what was I doing for that whole, 12 years of my life? Like, where was I? Like, under a rock thinking I was the only person in the world who has a felony conviction? Like, I literally thought that, Like, I knew obviously there's other felons, but, like, in my world, like, that I'm the only one. Like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, I just gotta do these drugs and, like, basically kill myself because I'm not worthy of anything because I went to jail. Like, that's bullshit, and it's just not true because we can do great things. Look, you're doing amazing things. A bunch of people I've interviewed are doing amazing things, and we've all spent time locked up, all of us. And it's a shitty thing to go through. I don't wish that on anybody to have to experience losing your freedom in that way. But I'm grateful I had that experience in a way because it made me appreciate what I have now even more. Like, it could always be worse. I could still be in jail. I could have went back. But that didn't happen though. That wasn't my path. And I do believe that my higher power, God, made me go through these experiences to be who I am now, to be able to shine light onto other people who are feeling what I was feeling for all those years of life. I had to experience that. I had to get knocked on my ass repeatedly to be able to help other people see that there's a better way to live life.
And you'll see that as you continue to do your podcast, it's healing.
Mhm.
It's something that's very singularly thinking about just focusing on a problem that helps you to come up with solutions. And so the more you tell your story, and I experienced this was a surprise with my podcast. I did not expect it to be a healing thing, but it has been. Writing is as well. We were
Yeah.
talking about you possibly writing your own book before we got on the call today. I encourage you to really, really pray about that. And a memoir is nothing more than a really badass journal entry. You know,
Yeah.
and it'll take you a long time to write a memoir. It's a lengthy process to write since you're doing actual facts and it has to balance out as opposed to making shit up as you go along. Nothing wrong with making shit up as you go along. I love the fiction read too, but the memoirs are different. If
Yeah.
you ever want to go down that route, let me know. I know how to tell you to get started.
Awesome.
Um,
Thanks.
Now, the thoughts that you have, I heard you say that you'll probably always have them. No, you won't. You don't. You do not have to always have them. You just keep going, but perspective is everything. You perceive that you were alone even though you weren't alone.
Yeah.
When I got HIV, I perceived I was alone and I was the only one with it and I was just going to die of AIDS in 8 months. That was the truth that I choose. That was a lie that I chose to accept as truth. It wasn't. I needed more information. It's perspective is everything. People have killed themselves because of having a perspective that made them feel isolated, even though they weren't. And so that's why I love doing shows like this so that we can be super transparent so that someone can hear it and not kill themselves today.
Yeah.
And that's sort of,
Because it's life is worth it. I know that shit sucks and you're gonna go through shit, but I believe wholeheartedly and that we are never given more than we can handle. So if you're given something that feels heavy and you feel like, fuck, like I can't handle this, you can, or else it wouldn't be happening. And that's my experience with throughout life. Cause I look back at all the shit I've been through. I'm like, how the fuck did I not die? But there's a reason.
God wasn't ready for you to die. I mean, it is as simple as that. And you're not going to depart this plane of existence until he's ready for you to. And you can close the book on that one because that's just the way that goes.
Mhm.
And so, but if someone doesn't believe that, then you can see it right here. She's telling her story. Now she could have gotten delivered from all that she's been delivered from and led a quite successful life. Making a choice to do a podcast is not a decision that's made lightly. Some people get into this, actually, many people get into this and they stop because they were in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You have a testimony, and by having a podcast, and it's this is better than standing up in church on Sunday and testifying. A podcast, these episodes are recorded and they will remain. Whether you decide to stop the show in a few years, you could move on to something bigger and better, or you keep it for the rest of your life or whatever. The shows are permanent. They're always going to be available until the earth ends. And so this is like a
Right.
permanent, documented audio visual testimony that people can go back and listen to time and time and time and time again. So the healing work that you're doing through your show will outlive you, will outlast you. And this is why you're still alive. Somebody has to survive to tell it so that people can be warned about the things they're doing,
Hmm.
so that people can feel like they're not alone if they're currently doing them. And then so people cannot judge people who have been through the things that we've been through, so they can get it from an insider perspective instead of from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And
Very true.
that is why we are here. So the last question that I wanted to ask you before we begin to wrap this up, and I thank you so much for the time spent here
Yeah.
with me today. You had mentioned about the adoption. You were saying part of the reason that you gave up the daughter was because of, I think, the abusive situation or what the guy was doing to you. Explain to me that reasoning.
Yeah. So with her, it was his abusiveness, but it was also the fact that I had no means to take care of her. I didn't have a job. I was homeless. I was living in a shelter again. I couldn't, like, it was a very hard decision at a very young age. But the ultimate decision came from I love her too much to bring her into my chaos. And the same and I was pregnant while I was incarcerated, and I gave her to the same family. So they're actual sisters. They have the same mother and father, and I gave the second one up for the same reasons. Like, I was incarcerated. Like, what kind of life was I gonna provide? And I had my son in the middle of them too. And my son, he's here with me. He's 16 now, but I saw what he had been through in his short life by the time I had, my second daughter, and I felt so much guilt, and I still have a lot of guilt around my son. That's something I'm working through, but, it was the ultimate feeling of I can't provide for this innocent child. The the least I can do is give them a chance at a good life, and they have it. They have the life that they deserve to have. And that is why I gave my daughters up for it.
Tell me how it made you feel to do that, though, because this can be a healing moment for someone else who's had to give up their kid for adoption, or who may decide to do that. Talk to me about that sort of pain.
Hmm. Well, with my first daughter, it wasn't as intense with my second. So when I was 19 and when I had my first daughter, like, I had no like previous experience, this is what I chose to do. It shattered my heart. I mean, I cried for countless days. That was right around the time that Monsters Inc. came out. And there's a scene where the monster has to give Boo Boo back, and lost my shit. Lost my shit, like, couldn't handle it. I wanted her back. I remember going, "No, like, I made the wrong choice, like, I need her back." And so sorry. So, I wanted her back, and I remember my, step-grandmother at the time said, "What are you if you get her back, what are you gonna do? Like, you don't have a place for her to live." Like, I was living with them at the time, and I was like, "This is true," And so I kinda had this empty feeling, but I didn't quite understand it. Now with the second time, I couldn't handle it. I knew I made the right choice for her, but the family brought my oldest with them, and at the time, she was, like, 5 or 6 years old. So I met her, and I chose to rather hand my baby to them. And I remember, like, handing her to them, And just like my whole body just like started collapsing. Like it was like this intense, like I'm gonna pass out, like I can't. And I had to like run out of the room and I scared my older daughter, which I felt horrible about, but I couldn't hold it back. Like I lost it. And I remember like collapsing in the room after I left the room where they were. And the one woman who worked for the agency was there with me and she just like held me and I felt like a horrible person. It took me a while to accept that I'd done the right thing. I still have a lot of guilt around it. I recently got pictures of them, like, my oldest will be 18 in May. So my hope is that she'll want to meet me. But it's hard. It's hard being a mother and not knowing your kids at all. Like, I don't know them, you know? I hope that they have some traits of mine. But, I think the feeling was a mixture of I'm devastated, but I also have a weight lifted knowing that they're safe and they don't have to deal with my shit. So,
Girl, fuck, fuck. I admire your strength. I admire your courage, and I appreciate your vulnerability because, oh my God, I can't even imagine, having a sense of, because you feel, they're alive. And so you still feel an attachment to them, but you're also not able to put your hands on them.
yeah.
Oh my God. That you just, I don't just,
Yeah.
you go, girl. You just go, girl.
I really hope that, they do eventually want to meet me. I know I can't have that expectation. I have to let it happen when it's meant to happen. But I was watching Sweet Magnolias on Netflix, and holy shit, I love that show. But the one guy on there, he's adopted, and he came to their town to find his birth mother, and, like, he found her, and it's, like, that feeling of, "I really want that," and it almost made me, like it's bittersweet. It's like, "Oh, I love that that character got what he wanted, but at the same time, like, I want that too," you know? So, when I see things like that, it's very emotional. I don't talk about it very often because I get extremely emotional, so but yeah, it was really hard.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I said that was gonna be my last question, but I lied. It was just the last one because in your file I was reading, you said that you had overcome addiction. Okay, most people don't refer to it that way because, like in the anonymous movement, they tell you can never overcome addiction, which I disagree with. And so I'm just wondering what your philosophy is on addiction and how you overcame it. And then with that, after that, then you can give us like your final word, whatever encouraging word you want to say. You know, Oprah will drop the mic and get off the stage after this. But
Well, overcoming addiction is, so for me, I was addicted to cocaine, pills. I don't like to say I was addicted to marijuana because I truly don't believe marijuana is a drug, but there's two sides to that because it was a problem for me in the moments that I was smoking regularly. And alcohol, but it was also people, places, and things. So, in order for me to not keep going backwards to the same patterns in drinking, I had to remove myself from people, places, and things. I had to give up toxic friendships. I had to walk away from toxic environments. I had to, I, I don't, I didn't move that far. I moved 15 minutes away from where I grew up, but it's a different town. It's not, I'm not surrounded by those same people, but because of my children, whoops, I have to stay in this general area. But anyway, so overcoming it was just not picking up again. And I know this comes from like the 12-step world, but living truly one day at a time, knowing that today I'm not going to pick up drugs or alcohol because I'm worth it. And then if I have a trigger where I'm like, oh, I want to smoke or I want to, do pills or whatever, cocaine, whatever comes to my mind, it's like, but is it worth it? What is going to happen if you pick up again? And then I tell myself, well, shit, I'll lose everything very fast because it's a quick transition. And just really living that life and talking about my emotions and not hiding them. That's a huge part of it because I hid my emotions. I still do from time to time, but I try really hard to be open about my emotions. If I don't feel it's something I can talk about, I journal about it, and that to me is overcoming it because, yeah, by definition, will I always be an addict? Of course, but I don't want to label myself as that. I don't want to feel like it's something that's bad because I don't think it is, because addiction is a disease, in my opinion. And just like anything else, if you can figure out for you the best way to stay away from it and to keep yourself clean, that's what's going to work for you. And that's what works for me. I don't go to 12-step meetings. I have in the past, but in my experience, I felt like it was a cult. So I have not, I've toyed with going back, but I didn't. But yeah, no.
It's culty. It's culty.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for the breakdown, my dear. So I like to let my guests have the last word. So any fucking thing you want to say to the peoples?
Yes. So this is like something I truly always say, but it's so damn important. Like, you are stronger than you think you are. There's nothing in this world that's going to be given to you that you can't handle, and live life one day at a time, because stressing over the future will get you nowhere, and stressing about the past isn't going to help you either. So it's living for today and feeling your emotions and knowing that it's okay to feel your emotions, because it is. I don't care if you're a man, a woman, whatever. If you need to cry, fucking cry. If you need to scream, fucking scream. Like, feel your fucking emotions to their fullest, because that's the only way you're going to be able to go through them and not allow them to consume you and wind up back on drugs or incarcerated or something worse. Your life is worth so much more than that, and that you're not alone.
Thank you so much for all of that. Everybody, Amanda Acker. Her website is amandaacker.com. She's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I will put all of this in the showy notes, as I always do. She is the hostess from the Let Good Things In show. Thank you so much, Amanda. I appreciate you, and God's blessings be upon you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at devannon@sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devannon, and it's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.